Hey everybody, welcome back to the Junkyard Dog Report. As you can see, I made a nice little logo that I also put the score on, and your Junkyard Dog, Mamadi Diakite. So, I'm going to be doing this for pretty much every game now, and I also post one of these on my new Instagram page if you want to check it out. So, that's that, and here's my beautiful face. So, how you guys doing? A great game yesterday against the Sixers at home. Great to get that home cooking in. Clearly made a huge difference for this team. So, let's get into it. So, starting off, changes to the starting lineup. Dean Wade was starting at the 3 in this game, and Mamadi Diakite was starting at the 4. And as I just said, he was your junkyard dog, so he definitely stepped up in a big way. Something I was thinking about before the game is that Ev was going to have his hands full with Joel. Last season he definitely struggled a little bit after being moved to the 5 when Jarrett was out then. And I think mostly about that game against the Clippers that we had where Ivica Zubats went off. And it's nothing against Ivica, but he's not one of the top tier big men in the league, and Ev was having a tough time handling him. Obviously over the offseason, Ev has put on weight, and he's gotten better. And he definitely stepped up last night. He's a lot more physical than he had been in the past. So definitely great to see there. Something else I was worried about in the first, after seeing, Ev was doing a good job on Joel, was so every time Joel would get into the paint, Mamadi Diakite would come over to help build a little wall in front of the rim so Joel wouldn't get an easy bucket, right? But at the first point of the game, PJ Tucker got 2 or 3 wide open threes on this, and that was worrying me a little bit because any of you who've watched my videos here know that I've been saying this a lot, that big men who can shoot threes have been killing us. It's been a weakness of our defense all season. So that definitely worried me, but then all of a sudden, we switched to a zone, and the defensive focus and intensity and unselfishness was fantastic because you don't hear a lot of people say, that selfishness exists defensively, but it does, right? Because if I'm covering, let's say I'm covering Shake Milton, right? And he's having a nice night from 3, but PJ just got open because Mamadi set a wall in front of Joel in front of the rim. I might be more hesitant to leave Shake because he's been hitting, right? But that's being selfish because I have to just go all out and run to the corner to PJ and trust that the next man is going to pick up Shake at the top of the key. So, that was great to see. Unselfish defense, definitely unselfish offense in this game. It started off, it felt like we kind of carried over from that little road trip where we couldn't buy a bucket, but we were executing really well in that first quarter. And at first, the Sixers jumped all over us. I wouldn't say all over us, but they started the quarter on a 9-2 run, which was a little discouraging, especially considering, how we've had some trouble coming out flat in the last few games. But the way the team responded was fantastic. Immediately responded with a 14-0 run after that to go up 16-9. So that was definitely great. We switched, like I said earlier, we switched to a zone defense, which helped us a lot. It had the Sixers offense lost and confused, and especially with their primary ball handlers, Tyrese Maxey and James Harden out, it was definitely tougher for them to move the ball around and find easy and open shots, especially because we had that paint lockdown with those 2 trees, Mamadi Diakite and Evan Mobley. And I definitely want to see more Mamadi, I know I'm getting a little off track here, but as of right now, we only have 14 of our 15 roster spots filled. And I know if you check the roster, it says there are 16 guys, but Isaiah Mobley and Mamadi Diakite are both on 2-way contracts. So I would definitely like to see us, just sign Mamadi to the active roster 100% of the time so we could see him in every game, because I would love to see not just the effort and energy off the bench, but the versatility, right? Offensively and defensively. He's been good guarding the perimeter and in the paint. He's shooting threes offensively, but also giving the effort to go for offensive rebounds and get buckets in the paint. So definitely a guy I want to see more of. We're doing great keeping them out of the paint the entire first quarter. They didn't score in the paint until there was less than 2.5 minutes left in the first. So that was great. We're up 12-0 in the paint with 2 minutes and 35 seconds left in the first quarter. So, I mean, Ev was doing his thing inside. Mamadi definitely helping. Other guys helping too. I mean, another thing that was cool is that Darius Garland no-look pass to Dean Wade. He looked like an absolute magician, and, Dean just put it in nice and easy, which was great to see. Definitely didn't shoot it as well as we wanted to in that first quarter, but we got the job done. We won the quarter 25-21. And now we get into, the fun quarter, the quarter where we absolutely went off. We were 16 for 17 in the quarter, 5 for 5 from 3. We scored 44 points. So let's get into the Cavalanche of a quarter. We started off the quarter with, Okoro's first play of the game for him. He got a steal and pushed it on a fast break, and we went on a little 10-3 run to start the quarter, which was great, because starts and ends of quarters have been a little bit iffy for us this season, with letting the other team either jump on us or finish the quarter strong. So, I mean, that was great. Okoro got a fantastic putback on the one miss of the quarter. Ev missed inside on some shot over Joel right in the paint, and Okoro came in to put it back. So, I know we shot 94% in the quarter, but in my opinion, we shot 100, right? If you think about it from like a fighter's perspective, let's say, let's use Montrezl Harrell because, he's a fun guy to bag on, especially with what he said in the preseason. Let's say I fight Montrezl Harrell, right? And in the preseason, he beats me, right? Oh, man, I'm 0-1 as a fighter. But then, we fight again, on November 30th, and I beat him, right? So I got that win back. So I got that loss off my record, so I got it back. That's my opinion on it. So, 100% shooting in the quarter. Now, I'm kidding, of course, but, definitely cool that we got our one miss back for a great highlight play by Okoro. We took our largest lead of the half in this quarter when we took a 21-point lead. Joel absolutely lost his mind in this quarter. And in my opinion, if he wasn't Joel Embiid, he would have been thrown out of the game. If he wasn't as good of a player as he is. And even if he had like a reputation of a guy like Draymond Green, who for some reason I bring up a lot, maybe because a lot of the things he does matches our identity. But a guy like Draymond, if he did what Joel was doing when he was freaking out at the refs for not giving him free throws for his flops last night, Draymond, I think, would have got 2 technicals and thrown out immediately. Anyone who isn't the caliber of Joel Embiid or one of those superstar players definitely would have got thrown out for doing what he did. But, I'm honestly happy he didn't get thrown out, because watching him and his demeanor throughout the game as he slowly just gave up as we were just battering the Sixers was honestly great to see, especially from a guy who, in my opinion, is an MVP caliber player, a guy who's either the best or second best big man in the league, him and Jokic. So, especially with our top big man, well, not to discredit Evan Mobley, but if we're talking about defending the paint and presence in the paint, Jared Allen is our top big man, and to do that without him was great. We couldn't miss a bucket in the second quarter. Like I told you, and like, that little graphic. Oh, it's the other way. Like that little graphic right there. Oh, no, it's a Cavalanche. We dropped a nice Cavalanche on them. We scored 44 points in the quarter. The Sixers had 48 at half. Like, what else can you say? Another highlight play in that quarter, Donovan Mitchell did a great job slowing down Tobias Harris, and Dean Wade came in for the block. I'm not saying the block was anywhere near the lay block, but it was similar to me in the fact that Donovan Mitchell slowed Tobias Harris down the way J.R. Smith was able to slow down Stephen Iggy. So Dean Wade could get back and get that block, so that was cool. We definitely had some silly turnovers at points, but our defense was so stellar in the game last night that those silly turnovers didn't even amount to anything. It was like, oh no, we made a mistake, and then we fixed that mistake, and then we got back on offense, and we didn't miss. So that was definitely great. I mean, we we did what we should have done against like the Pistons without Cade, Jaden Ivey, and Bojan Bogdanovic, against the Hornets without LaMelo, against the team with, yeah, they didn't have Tyrese Maxey or James Harden, but they had Joel Embiid, a guy you could argue is the best player in the league right now. So, I mean, to absolutely dominate the first half and dominate the second quarter 44-27 was fantastic. And you could complain about the defense giving up 27 points, but something we did in this game that makes me not so worried about that we gave up 27 points in the second quarter is that we took the pace to another level, right? We're usually a team that, we move slow, we take our time because it benefits the way we play, right? We play on the back of our defense. So making a slower half-court game is good for us. But at the same time, making a slow half-court game is good for the Sixers, especially without James Harden and Tyrese Maxey. So JB flipped that on its head and just upped the pace all the way, and it was great to see the guys go out there and just run, especially with all the off-season conditioning that JB made them do. They did all that beep tests and stuff like that, so that was great. And dropping a Cavalanche is always fun. It always. I definitely miss the Cavalanches. They're fantastic. They're a fun thing. So moving on to the third quarter. We definitely started off that quarter a little bumpy with a couple turnovers, but like I said before, we never let those turnovers affect us at all. We got back on defense and we erased any turnovers that we committed at all in the game. And we started off the quarter on an 11-0 run, and 8 of those points came from Darius Garland, who was, doing everything last night in terms of running the offense, whether it was passing or being aggressive and finding his spots. And he knows that he's that guy, right? Like, I have a short quote from Darius Garland here where he said, "I think I am the leader of this offense." And, I don't think he's the only one who feels that way. I bet if you ask Donovan Mitchell, he would feel like he's the leader of this offense as well. But I don't think it's in a bad way. I think they're just two alpha dog type guys, and why it's so important that we continue to stagger their minutes so they can get their time as the leader of the offense. And I think it makes it easier for them when they're both in the game, for whoever's taking it up court, for the guy who's not taking it up to just play off ball and be ready to shoot. So that was definitely great. The only thing that really was a problem that kind of worried me a little bit is that immediately after our 11-0 run in the third quarter, the Sixers responded with a 9-2 run of their own. And that, when you have a great night like we had, there are going to be some points where there are little slumps. But at the same time, we want to be consistent for 48 minutes. And JB talked about being consistent for 48 minutes when he said, "I thought they really did tonight play, both ends of the floor and execute what we were trying to do for the majority of the game." So I think this was, one of those games that we can look back on and reflect that that's the job that we're looking for in the game that we're looking for. JB, I feel like the only reason he didn't give the team credit for playing a full 48 minutes is just literally just that 9-2 run that the Sixers went on. And, we definitely responded. Like, we won this quarter 21-18. So their 9-2 run meant nothing in the grand scheme of things. And, it's one thing to allow a run, but I think what's most important is how you respond, and this team definitely responded in the right way. Their intensity, energy, effort, focus, all those things, they never wavered in this game, right? And I think home cooking is just what we needed, especially after that rough road trip. We won the quarter 21-18, definitely on the back of that 11-0 run to start the quarter. But, the ball movement was beautiful in this game, right? The thing about the Cavs is this team is built to win as a team, right? If we want to win the finals this year, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if we want to win the finals this year, it's very important that this team plays like a team, right? Especially in the playoffs, our ball movement has to remain as beautiful as it was last night. Like, I love watching a Cavs game and just saying, wow, that's poetry in motion, right? And I know that the NBA likes to use that phrase a lot, but I mean, I feel like we really do play that way when we're clicking, especially at home. Especially at home. So moving on to the fourth quarter, I mean, something I love from this game, and you guys might get a little crack out of the little graphic I made for this, but something I love from this game was this moment right here from, sorry, I'm getting used to this. This is my first time with graphics. Something I love from this game was this moment right here with JB and Darius Garland. I mean, you know, some of you, not a lot of you, some of you don't like JB and don't think that he's the guy that's going to get this team to the promised land. And to that, I say, look at his relationships with his players. Like, not just this moment with DG from last night's game, but also in the offseason, in constant contact with Evan Mobley, right? In contact with pretty much all the guys. I'm pretty sure on Media Day, pretty much every guy came in and talked about like a mission that JB gave him, right? Lamar Stevens said he had to work on his three-point shot. That's what JB told him to do, work on his three-point shot. Jetty said that JB told him to work on the defensive end because it doesn't matter if his shot's not falling. As long as he's playing well defensively, JB has no reason to pull him. Ev basically had to work on, I mean, JB gave him a laundry list of things to work on, but they were in constant contact. I don't think Ev left Cleveland for very long in the offseason. And, I mean, he definitely was still in contact with DG. Those two are very close. I don't remember if DG said anything about a mission given to him by JB on Media Day, but, I mean, for those of you who don't think JB can lead us to the promised land, at least give him a chance, you know, to make the playoffs and do something with it first before you criticize him and say he can't game plan or change strategies or matchups depending on who we're playing, because he hasn't been in that situation yet, right? I feel like for most of his career, he's been the first man on the bench next to the head coach. And so this is his first time, one of his first times as a head coach. I'm pretty sure he was an interim head coach before. But not just that, also that, like, do you guys not remember where this team was in 2018 and 2019? The culture that JB built, like, this team wouldn't be anything without JB, in my opinion. Maybe DG's not the all NBA level player that he is today if JB isn't our head coach. So, I mean, it is what it is. For those of you who don't believe in JB, I say wait until the playoffs. For those of you who do believe in JB, I believe in him too, but also wait until the playoffs because that's when everything's going to go down. But no coach's career is just based on one playoff run. So, you know, it's definitely an important time of year and definitely a time where coaches need to step up. But if things don't go right in the postseason, it doesn't mean JB's a terrible coach. So, moving on. No one could miss last night. You know, even Moondog, you know, throwing his nice backwards shot from half court in on his first try. That was great. And something I loved in the fourth quarter is that we took a new high lead for the game, which was 33, and the lineup that was in was Raul Neto, Karis LeVert, Jetty Osman, Isaac Okoro, and Mamadi Diakite. And if you notice, there's not a single guy from our big four, obviously excluding Jared Allen because he wasn't playing, in that lineup. So definitely great to see that the bench lineup was keeping up the intensity once it was basically, I mean, that was garbage time. So they kept it going what the big three out of the four started. So, and something else very cool is that Jetty is now 8th in franchise history for 3-point field goals made, passing Danny Ferry. And we won the fourth. Oh, God, I didn't write it here. Oh, no. But I know we won the fourth quarter. I just don't remember what the score was, so I apologize about that. But I think the most important part is that we won every quarter for the second time since I started making these videos. And when we beat the Blazers, I said that was our best game of the season. And I'm taking that back, and I'm saying this has been our best game of the season. Right when we needed it most, against the team who beat us all 4 times last season. We stepped up in a big way, and we took the home cooking, and we used it to our best advantage. And maybe we had a little fuel added to the fire in the preseason when Montrezl Harrell tweeted after the game, LMAO, y'all weak ass hell, been busting the Cavs ass for about 6 years. Look at the tape, LMAO, don't worry, I will post highlights for your fake bum Cavs game, LMAOO. And I counted it, 34 crying laughing emojis. So, man was definitely pressed, a little bit heated. I don't know why. He was 5 for 7 in that preseason game. But the funny thing is he did that against, guys at the time who are reserves. Like Lamar Stevens was in the game. Mamadi Diakite was in the game. Dean Wade was in the game. No disrespect to any of those guys. I think those guys are all very important role players on this team. And Lamar Stevens a very important starter on this team. But, it was a preseason game. And I think something that was really funny is that he only played garbage time in this game. Here are Montrezl's stats for those of you who are interested. He had 2 points, 3 rebounds, and 1 assist in 8 minutes and 19 seconds, and he was -7 for the game. Let's go. Yeah, Trez. Really busting our ass, huh? I'm sorry. I had to enjoy that. Like you talk all that trash, and then you're going to play like trash. Actually, you didn't even play. Man lost his job to, what's his name? I know his last name is Reed. I forgot his first name, so I apologize to him for that. Not like he's ever going to see this, but whatever. On to some quotes from the post game. I feel like I used to be better at working those in with my analysis of the game, but, when I'm in a flow, I'm in a flow. So let's go. What JB had to say about Ev taking on Joel and other fives over the last year of his NBA career. It's growth for sure. I think if you think back to last year, what he did when he played at that spot. I think he was really good then. I think he's a really good basketball player no matter what position you put him at. But he's a competitor. And I think sometimes, his calm demeanor can fool us. But I don't know anybody who has the fire that burns, hotter than his when it comes to competition. And he's not afraid, he's willing to take any challenge that we put in front of him, Embiid is, MVP caliber, one of the best centers in the game. And Evan went out and accepted the challenge. And, you can't really say anything better than that. When you're facing a guy like Joel, that's a game that you got to get up for, specifically as a younger guy and Evan Mobley who needs to prove himself in the league. And what Darius Garland had to say about Ev taking on Joel was, I think he did really well just battling and competing with the MVP candidate. It just shows his growth and his toughness and his desire just to be one of the best defenders in this league. So he just took the challenge and stood up to it. And he definitely stood up to it. But somebody else who also stood with him was Mamadi Diakite, who stepped up big time in this game, in my opinion. He was junkyard dog for a reason, and I know his stats don't look all flashy or anything like that, but his impact goes further than the stats. And moving on, what JB had to say about Ev shooting, he said, we want Ev to take all the shots. There's not a spot on the floor where we don't feel comfortable with him, with the ball in his hand and the shot that he can create and take. We don't want to put him in a box. And, I think that's very important for Ev's development, is to make sure that you're helping to improve all parts of his game and making him feel comfortable, especially offensively. And he was definitely more aggressive offensively in this game. And what DG had to say about that was, we tell him all the time, he can do whatever he wants on the offensive end because we know what he does on the defensive end. He has to get rewarded for that. So when he goes to his isolation game and pull-ups off the dribble, I mean, we love that for him. I think we see him make it all the time in practice, and we want him to start being more aggressive and taking assertiveness in his offensive game and just believe in it because, I mean, his packages is crazy. So we want him to be aggressive and get more involved into the offense. And, I mean, this my bad. This guy, Evan Mobley, definitely has potential. In my opinion, when I look at his potential, I think he can be everything everyone expected Anthony Davis to be and more. I think he's a legitimate unicorn. We haven't even seen his full bag yet. This has been said multiple times by JB, DG, other guys on the team. Like, we haven't seen his full bag yet. He doesn't miss his pull-up game in practice. I mean, I can't wait to see what he evolves into because it's one thing to be comfortable doing things in practice, but it takes time to get comfortable doing things in a game. And I think he's definitely evolving in that way. We see him taking a lot more threes now than he was last season or early in this season. So that will come with time, but definitely great to see the improvements he's made over just, a year and like a quarter so far. So moving on to the next guy, another guy who went off last night, Karis LeVert. What JB had to say about Vert was the ball went in the basket, and I think that gave him confidence, But again, I've been watching him work, and you see, the energy he puts into it. We know what he's capable of, right? And then it's on us to put him in positions to be successful. It's on his teammates to get him the ball in those positions, get him as comfortable as we can, and he's capable of doing these things. And, I mean, Karis LeVert was fantastic last night. He couldn't miss a shot. And if anyone else other than Mamadi Diakite was going to be the junkyard dog, I think it should have been Karis LeVert for the way he played. And, I mean, I feel like LeVert gets a little bit too much slack. I'll talk a little bit more about this after I read what Darius Garland had to say about Karis LeVert. So what DG had to say about LeVert was him being aggressive. He was looking for a shot, trying to get downhill, just being aggressive and being him, and we loved it. I know he did, just getting his rhythm back, making shots, seeing it go through the rim. I mean, his confidence is definitely building from tonight, so happy to have him back out there being aggressive and being him. And I think Karis LeVert catches a little too much slack because, I mean, he's been in like 15 different roles on this team since we got him, and I feel like the best role for him would be a role very similar to Cedi Osman, but with more touches of the ball, because the thing about LeVert that I feel like makes so many people in this fan base not like him is that he needs the ball in his hands to produce. And I mean, it is a little bit of a problem because sometimes it's hard to get him going in games, right? I'm not going to say he's not the best spot-up shooter because if you hit him when he's open, usually he will hit his shots, but he's more comfortable creating his own shot than spotting up. And something that I think would help his game a lot and help him fit in better is if he learns to move better off ball like Cedi Osman. And Cedi is another guy who also, when you put the ball in his hands, is very good at creating for himself. But at the same time, he's also good at creating for himself by moving off ball. And in my opinion, he's better at creating for others than Karis LeVert in terms of passing. And when Cedi dribbles, he does not dribble as long as Karis LeVert does when LeVert has the ball. But at the end of the day, I don't think LeVert deserves any hate at all from this fan base. The man gives it his all every night. He's done each and everything but JB has asked of him. He's guarded the other team's best perimeter player. He has been a pass-first guy. He's been a shoot-first guy. He's been a defensive-first guy. He's gotten rebounds. He's done everything that has been asked of him. The only problem with him on this team is that he hasn't found his role yet. And in time, that will happen because we had him for what? Maybe a quarter of the end of the season last year, something like that. We got him at the trade deadline, so I think we had him for like anywhere between like 30 to 40 games. And you might say, oh, well, we had him for like almost a full season, but let's say 3/4 of a season at this point. How come he hasn't found a role yet? Well, at the end of last season, we were injured, so then it was hard to find a role for him. Then we start off this season. DG gets injured in the first game. I mean, and then Jared Allen's out now. And you just got to respect LeVert because he just keeps grinding. Even after Lamar Stevens took his spot, he could have been a little whiny baby and been like, oh, I want out of Cleveland, blah, blah, blah. But he hasn't done that. He's just stepped up to the challenge. He stepped up to his role in every way he could, and he's done the best he can. And if he can be that guy who comes off the bench and puts in buckets like a Kevin Love, like a Jetty Osman, and if he can improve his off-ball movement and his vision as a passer, he'll be a perfect fit on this team, in my opinion. It's just going to take a little time for him to get comfortable in his new role. And something else JB had to say about getting LeVert involved was, yeah, I mean, in that role, I think you have to, right? If he's going to be coming off the bench, I think you have to find opportunities for him. And it wasn't just from us, you know. Donovan and Darius both recognized it, and, you know, we had conversations during the game, and they were calling plays to get him the ball. So that's something I think that, you know, again, that's part of this group's nature, but understanding how impactful Karras can be for us and what he's capable of. And I think he's definitely capable of a lot more than we have seen so far. And, I mean, it's going to take time, but I feel like every Cavs fan is going to love this man by the time the end of the season comes, as long as he can find where he fits right and JB can find where he fits right, because it's been tough so far to find a spot for him. But I think JB has finally found a spot where LeVert can really flourish, especially when Ricky Rubio comes back. But moving on, what JB had to say about guys like Okoro and LeVert who were cold coming into this game, who, you know, how they played after they saw the ball go in the basket a little bit. So what JB had to say was, you know, we have very good basketball players and extremely talented guys. All of them at some point in time are going to hit a bump in the road, you know. It's whether or not are the team and coaching staff and, you know, front office continue to show belief in guys, and we believe in our guys. And, you know, through their ups and downs, we're going to give them opportunities as long as they continue to work and do other things that can impact the game, you know. And I think, again, at some point in time, it turns for all of our guys because they work extremely hard at it. And, I mean, there are going to be bumps in the road. It's an 82-game season. You know, I think a good comparison would kind of be like how the MLB is. You know, you see a lot of hitters go into slumps. Even pitchers will go into slumps. But the important thing there, and also in the NBA, is that you get hot at the right time. And the right time would be playoff time. But, I mean, also at other points in the season, like now is a perfect time for those two guys to get hot because we need them. You know, I think we have the potential to go on a nice 7-game win streak here, including the one last night, because 5 of those games are at home upcoming, and the 2 on the road are against the Spurs and the Knicks. The Knicks is the other one. In my opinion, we own the Knicks, so I think that'll continue, and I think we can win our next 6 games. And what JB had to say about the high pace I was talking about earlier that kind of tricked the Sixers, who are used to seeing us play at a slow pace. He said, "We know how hard it is to score, you know, when you allow Embiid to set himself in the paint. So we were trying our best to get down the floor before he was there. And that gives us the thrust. It gives us the force that we need because, you know, they will make it extremely difficult if this becomes, you know, a half-court basketball game. And just like us, the Sixers, especially, like I said before, especially without James Harden and Tyrese Maxey, thrive on a half-court basketball game because, I mean, Joel Embiid is a guy who's very hard to stop. And I was worried at points in the game last night that he was just going to take over because that's what guys who are MVP and world caliber type players like him do in situations like that. But I feel like we got in his head enough. I think we got him frazzled enough and angry enough that we threw him off his game. So that was fantastic. And I think the high pace was a part of that because, you know, sometimes guys, when they're that good, can get can get going on a defensive play. Like if Joel gets a block, all of a sudden he gets that energy and he's taking over the game. But we were moving so quick he couldn't even get set up before we were running our stuff. And something JB had to say about your junkyard dog, Mabadi Diakite, was I thought he was awesome, to be honest with you. Like, he's a big part of what our game plan was defensively. And I think he went out there and he executed it to a T and was a huge part of the reason why we were able to play the defense that we did tonight. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, he stepped up big time on the defensive end. He's a very versatile player. He's faster than most guys his size who play the center position. So he was doing a great job of coming off PJ Tucker, who usually sits in the corner, and creating a wall in front of the rim to make life tough on Embiid. And Embiid had a tough time last night. He didn't look like himself. He really didn't. And his body language, his demeanor, all those things, like, we really got in Joel's head and we really upset him. So definitely good to get one against a team that swept us last year. But what DG had to say about Mamadi was about how he was happy for him, was super happy. I mean, he's been waiting for this opportunity for a while now, and he came up and played really big for us tonight. Had some really good minutes, played really hard. I mean, he helped us on the offensive and defensive end. So happy that he was out there just competing. And for those of you who don't know this is not Mamadi Diakite's first Junkyard Dog Award. The other one is a technicality, kind of. There was one game where the whole team got Junkyard Dog, and Mamadi, I'm pretty sure, was kind of in the center of that picture. So, it's kind of like how at one point I was Times Man of the Year because I believe in, I don't know what year it was, maybe 2007 or like 2012. They named everyone Times Person of the Year. So, yes, I am Times Man of the Year. And, you can put that on your resume out there if you're out there listening. It's definitely a nice boost. But then they'll realize that, you weren't actually Person of the Year. So maybe not great to put on your resume. But, hey, it's not up to me. It's your resume. So, moving on. Jesus, I got all my notes switched up. But let's move on to the 3-second violations. So for those of you who are confused about why our team gets so excited about 3-second violations, I'll let JB and Darius Garland let you in and add some of my own input in between. So what JB had to say was, there's incentive behind it, yeah. It's one of those things where, you go back and you look at the history of time and the teams and how many, defensive 3-second teams get versus how many baskets they take away. So I've been for 2 years now, telling guys that we would like to see more of them. And I mean, something, I watch a lot of basketball. That's why one of the reasons I started doing this. Also, I love the Cavs, so that's another reason I started doing this. And, when you watch a lot of NBA, something you look out for is like, 3-second calls. Sometimes you'll watch a guy stand in the paint, and I will watch the shot clock and the guy in the paint, and it'll be like 4 or 5 seconds, and they won't call anything. So what DG had to say about we got 3 3-second violations last night. So what DG had to say about that was because they don't call it. So, and that's what our bigs are supposed to do, is just stand in the paint. The officials don't call it. And when they do call it, it's a 50-50 chance that they make the free throw. So, I mean, it's a win-win in our favor. And our entire defensive identity is based on protecting the paint. And if the officials aren't going to call it, we might as well stand there all day, right? And, I mean, probably not the best thing for Darius Garland to say that officials aren't calling it, because I feel like that's definitely they're going to start watching for more when they call Cavs games, especially because DG called them out on it. But, I mean, he's not wrong when he's saying that. And of the 3 3-second violations we got last night, the Sixers only made 1 free throw. So that definitely worked out in our favor. And, I mean, what DG had to say about being 9-1 at home now, because we're unbeatable at home, is the fans, in my opinion, they bring a lot of excitement to the game. They're always in tune. They know basketball. So, like, They're calling out plays from the stands and everything. So it's super cool just to hear that. And I mean, when you make a run, I think it's really because of them, because they're so engaged and just bringing in so much excitement. And when we do something like a lob pass or like a three from Jetty or something, like you feel that energy, and that just carries on to the court and carries on with us. So I think it's the fans just having our backs and just bringing all that energy to the floor. And I mean, that's great. Something I love for sure. Keep it up, all you in Cleveland. You all see I got this Antrell Roll signed Giants helmet here. Yeah, I'm from Jersey, so I don't get the chance to go out to the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse as much as I'd want to, or well, I've never been, so I definitely would want to one day. But for those of you in Cleveland who are watching this, definitely keep it up. Definitely keep bringing the energy. Definitely keep calling plays because it's working. We're 9-1 at home. And, I mean, as long as we can keep winning at home, we'll make the playoffs. I think we definitely need to improve on the road. But as long as we can keep winning at home, we're going to be a tough team to deal with come playoff time, right? Because even if we're the lower seed, if we can defend home court and we can win all 3 games, we don't need to have the best record on the road. We can go 1-3 on the road and win the series. But we definitely do need to get better on the road overall, because, there are points where we look like the exact opposite of what we were last night. Like, last night we looked like world beaters, like we could win the NBA championship. But, I don't want to say against the Raptors because we were down men, and that kind of felt like why we lost more than anything. But against the Bucks, we were also down men. But that game and also the first game against the Bucks felt like we didn't even belong on the same floor as them. So, and yes, that was only for the third quarter in both of those games, but still, that should never happen, whether you're on the road or at home. Like, it's the NBA. Like, it's a professional basketball team. You gotta pick it up on the road. They gotta find a way to bottle the energy at home and bring it with them. And moving on to another quote. Actually, this is what LeVert had to say about being 9-1 at home. I wanted to get more quotes from LeVert. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to because of time restrictions and stuff like that. I had to take my dog Mobley for a walk. He's the man. So what LeVert had to say about being 9-1 at home was, obviously we're handling business at home, but as a good team, if you want to become a great team, you got to handle business on the road. And that's something we're working through right now. And, he's absolutely right, because great teams win on the road, especially when it matters most, specifically when it matters most, right? If you want to win a championship, you got to go into some of the most hostile environments and go win tough, important games. Like, we know, us as Cavs fans know, remember Game 5 and Game 7 at Oracle during the 3-1 comeback? 2 of the 3 games in the 3-1 comeback were on the road. Great teams win on the road when it matters most. You can't put it any other way. If you want to be immortalized in this game, if you want to be holding that Larry O'Brien trophy that this team held just 6-7 years ago, then you got to be able to win games on the road. Just flat out. And I know this is a young team, and maybe this is something that we won't get better at until next year, but it's something that's surprising considering that we were pretty good at winning games on the road last year. Like, we caught fire on the road on that first West Coast road trip where Larry Markkinen dunked on Jokic's head. But, this is a new team. This is not that team, so not fair to compare them. And I think it's more of like a chemistry thing and not having everyone thing, because we were good. Well, at least to start the season, we were good on the road. We were only like 3-1 on the road at the time, but we were good on the road when we had everyone. And I feel like maybe once we get everyone back, we'll see that better team on the road. I don't know. But moving on to the next quote, DG was asked about how he was super animated after throwing that lob to Okoro. And he said, I like seeing my teammates succeed. So, I mean, whenever they score a bucket or something, I'm going to get excited. And, I mean, that's what you want to hear from your all-star point guard, your superstar point guard, especially because he's the one most nights, specifically when things are going bad in the assist department, where he was carrying the load there. So definitely great to hear from him. And moving on to the stats of this game. Now, those of you who've been watching my videos for a little while know I like to do a thing where I compare the big four to the rest. And, now it's like the big three versus the rest, but I still have it as the big four over here. And so the big three had 55 points and the rest had 58, which, great split. Because as I've said multiple times, as JB has said, the strength of this team is the team, right? And this team is going to win because of the team. And everyone on the team buys into that. So I love nights when the rest outscores the big four, the big three, especially on a night where the big three didn't have to play that much, especially considering during the back-to-back games against the Raptors and Pistons, those guys had to play a lot. So definitely great to see that. The rebounds, the big three had 13 and the rest had 27. Tough for Evan Mobley to win that all by himself, especially considering the other big men we had playing in the game, Dean Wade, Mamadi Diakite, Robin Lopez, and Okoro has been, killing it on the boards lately with his effort. Moving on, assists, 18 for the big three and 10 for the rest. 9 of those for the big three are from Darius Garland, but also give credit to Donovan Mitchell, who finally got his assist total up above 1 or 2. Donovan Mitchell had 6 assists last night, so I've been a little tough on him in terms of his playmaking over the last few games, but that's just because of what he said, right? He had 1 assist in back-to-back games, and he said himself that was unacceptable and that he's a better playmaker than that. And then the next game after that, he had 1 assist, and then the game after that, he had 2 assists. So I was bagging on him a little bit for that, but I mean, he's a superstar guard. I knew he was going to get it together at some point. I'm glad he got it together last night, and he was, shooting as well as he did and playing as well as he did. That pass he had to Darius Garland where he faked like he was going to shoot and he found DG wide open was fantastic. So, and also I think he's getting more comfortable, right? Because you see DG when he drives into the lane and he finds Ev or Jarrett, he always waits until the last second. And I feel like that's been a problem for Donovan, is because he's worried about waiting for the last second and turning it over. So he'll just force it and it'll become a turnover. But last night, he was waiting for that last second to make those passes, and it was really paying off. So moving on, the big three had 2 steals, and those are both from Donovan Mitchell. The rest had 8, which was fantastic. 6 of those 8 came from Isaac Okoro, who had 3, and Dean Wade, who had 3. And the other 2 came from 1 for LeVert and 1 for Mamadi Diakite. And something I really loved last night is the blocks. It was 2-1, big four versus the rest. Ev had 1 of those blocks for the big three. And the other guy who had the block was Donovan Mitchell. And, I mean, I love it when I see Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland getting blocks. Because not saying that if they don't get it, they're not locked in, but when they do get them, they have to be locked in. Like, you're talking about guys who are like 6 foot to like 6'3", 6'4" for Donovan Mitchell. Getting a block is not the easiest thing in the world, even for a guy with the hops that he has. So, I mean, definitely great to see him getting a block. And Dean Wade got that block on that play, like I said, where Donovan Mitchell held Tobias Harris up. So, maybe give that block to Donovan Mitchell. Maybe he's leading the way with 2. Now, I'm just joking. That's Dean Wade's block. He got that fair and square. We definitely had some silly turnovers last night, but those silly turnovers did not come from the big three. So that was big time. The big three had 5 turnovers. The rest had 13. And I honestly like that stat because it means that the rest are just touching the ball more. now they could have 0 turnovers and they could be touching the ball more than they did last night. But in the same breath, like, we haven't seen the rest getting a lot of turnovers lately because it felt like they really haven't been touching the ball as much. They've been more passing than doing things with the ball. And last night was just a great team effort, not a great effort by any single guy, you know. And, I mean, you know, definitely great splits between the big 3 out of 4 versus the rest in this game. And when we move to the plus minus, the plus minuses were fantastic. There were only 2 guys who were in the negative, and I'm not even going to hate on them because they had their plays in this game. DG was plus 24 in 32 minutes and 2 seconds. Evan Mobley was plus 23 in 23 minutes and 47 seconds. Donovan Mitchell was plus 20 in 25 minutes and 56 seconds. Okoro was plus 20 in 22 minutes and 17 seconds. Mamadi Diakite, the Junkyard Dog, was plus 16 in 22 minutes and 35 seconds. Karis LeVert was plus 13 in 33 minutes and 16 seconds. Jetty was plus 8 in 28 minutes and 49 seconds. Raul Neto was minus 1 in 6 minutes and 18 seconds. And Robin Lopez was minus 3 in 14 minutes and 8 seconds. And, I mean, I don't mind that Raul was minus 1 because he came in when the bench is cleared. And, I mean, like I said earlier, that bench lineup got us the mark for the game. Our highest lead in that game was 33. The bench lineup are the ones who got it to 33. Now, I'm not saying they got it all the way up to 33, but they took it from whatever it was at the time, 27, 29, and they got it back to 33 when it had slipped from the previous high, which I believe was 30, 31. And Robin Lopez being minus 3, I don't mind that because he's this year's Ed Davis. He's not supposed to play, and I think he gets a little too much hate, but it's not his fault because he's not supposed to be playing. Right? If Jarrett wasn't hurt, if Kevin Love wasn't hurt, just one of those guys. Give us one of those guys back. Robin Lopez doesn't play a single second in this game except for garbage time. But I think it was good for Mamadi Diakite to get that experience even in garbage time to, you know, get more used to playing on the NBA level. And something cool about your Junkyard Dog, Mamadi Diakite, is that he actually played a back-to-back because he played with the G League against the Sioux Falls, whatever. He played with the Cleveland Charge against the Sioux Falls. I don't remember what the team name was. And he scored like 21, 22 points in that game. And then he came in last night against the Sixers and was impactful in a huge way and won the Junkyard Dog chain. So that was great. The team shot 60.8% on the night. They were 45 of 74 from the field. They were crazy in that second quarter, you know, dropping a Cavalanche on them. 44 points, 16 for 17, I believe, 5 for 5 from 3, 44 points. That was crazy, you know, definitely something I loved in that game. I'm just playing with these graphics right now, but we shot 51.7% from 3 in the game. Fantastic. 15 for 29. I mean, like 50% from 3. Are you kidding me? Like, what else can you ask for? We shot 80% from the free throw line, but we didn't get that many attempts. We were 8 for 10 from the free throw line. And I mean, definitely a great team win. Just a great team game in general, considering how we move the ball, how we pass the ball, all those things. Like, I would take a game like that on the road where we shot 30% from the field and 25% from 3, where we just fought and clawed and stayed in it. Kind of like that game against the Raptors rather than those games against the Bucks. So luckily 5 of our next 7, the Sixers game is part of that 7, are at home. And those 2 on the road are against teams that, 1, the Spurs aren't very good. And 2, the Knicks aren't, you know, they're nothing to scoff at, but I think they're a team we own. So I feel like we're about to run a nice 7-game win streak here for sure. And, you know, that's going to continue when we play the Magic tomorrow at home. The Magic are a team that have been injured all year. They're definitely a feisty bunch, and Lamar is probable for that game, but I honestly think it might be better if he's out because I think Dean Wade, at least on the perimeter, is a better matchup for Paolo considering his size and speed and length compared to Lamar Stevens because Paolo is also 6'10", right? So we need somebody like Dean Wade to start against a guy like him. And I don't think this Magic team is anything to scoff at. I just think they're inexperienced and they're coming at us on our home floor. They just got Kelp back. Like Markelle Fultz played his first, I think his first game of the season, maybe his second, but he's been out for a very long time. He's played his first game in a while against the Hawks last night. So he's definitely the guy that makes that team's engine go. Bull has been fantastic for them. And so I don't think that we should be upset if we don't beat the Magic by 30 like we did against the Sixers because that team is young, hungry, and feisty. And I haven't even mentioned Franz Wagner, who has been absolutely fantastic this year. He's been one of the best players from Evan Mobley's draft class, other than him. I think the three best from that draft class were Ev, Scotty, and Cade in no order. We'll see when it's all said and done. And Franz is right behind them. So that Magic team is definitely not one to scoff at. Definitely not one we should overlook. I think it's going to be a fun game. I really do. But it is what it is. Hopefully we can get that win against the Magic and we can go on that 7-game win streak I'm talking about now. But until next time, keep scrapping like your boy Mamadi Diakite and keep scrapping like a bunch of junkyard dogs. Peace out.